Hello and welcome to Prophet Key by Paul Fowler. This is an incredible effect. I should say an EDC effect that you can have it happen in your spectator's hands. It is made specifically so that it looks like you have absolutely nothing on you, yet you're still able to create powerful and incredible magical effects. And you can even use this on your parlor setting, or if you have multiple spectators, and even on stage. Even though it's just keys, we're going to show you ways in which you can maximize the potential of this amazing piece of magic. Now, ever since I received the very prototype, it has been on my keychain the entire time. For me, this is the epitome of the perfect EDC for you to have. I hope you share the same views or thinking that I have. And now, without any further ado, let's take a look at what it is you receive inside of your Prophet Key packaging. I know you've already looked inside. Of course, you opened it up and you looked at the little QR code that got you here. So we're just going to quickly go over it so you can better understand what it is that you have here. So once we open it, you'll see you have some brass looking keys, and I will put them right here so you can see them. Two of them are going to be cut, and then you have one that's completely uncut. And then you also have two of the silver keys that are cut, and then one that is not cut. So this is what you should receive in your package. And if we take a closer look at how these keys interact with each other, you'll notice that you have the reveal already there for you. So if we take the right keys and we put them together, you should see that they create in between the teeth. When the teeth go together, it creates the shape of that 7 of diamonds. When you put the other one, you'll notice that the other key will actually give you the 4 of hearts right there. There is a couple more subtleties that are built in to these keys, but we're going to get into those once we start explaining how these trick works and how we can elevate the magic that they're going to experience. Because remember, anything that happens in the spectator's hands, it is that much more powerful for them. Before we start learning the effect, first, let me tell you how this trick came about. We'll do a couple little credits, and then we'll get into the very meat and juicy stuff that I know you're all waiting for. The way in which Paul created this effect, it all started by him arriving early, as everybody should, to their gig. He was sitting there and he was trying to look for what he could use that would be almost like everyday carry. He immediately saw that he had some keys in his hands. And he's like, what can I do with this? And it is by taking a closer look and inspecting what he already had, what he always saw, just not from this new perspective, that he noticed that one of the edges of the cuts in the key actually looked like half of a diamond. He said, whoa, what if I take another one and put it on the other side? It will complete that diamond. And from that, immediately he's like, well, I could also do the same thing with the value of that card. He then went home, took that idea, drew it up, and he sent it to his friend. Now, on the screen, you're going to see the actual drawing of the inception of Prophet Key. As you see, is not really exactly what it is now. And there are a couple features that he thought he wanted to include, but then thought in order to make it even more organic, he got rid of that, which is the engraving that you made. If you read closely on that drawing that he made, you'll see that. But one of the reasons he wants to share this story with you, it's also to inspire you to look at things differently. That way, even the things that are around you, you can always turn them and shape them into something that you can use to outstand, is that a word? To astonish, let's say, your audience. So what he did with that paper is he sent it to his friend, Drew Perry, that very drawing that you're seeing, and then between both of them, they worked out exactly how to shape those keys so that they look exactly as they do now. When it comes to the website that is going to let you force seemingly very freely that card on your spectators, all credit goes to George Copeland. He's the one that put that website together for us. When it comes to the actual concept of the trick, we did our research and we couldn't really pinpoint a specific credit that we could give, because there are tons of different revelations out there that there's not really one that we could give you credit for. Just know that reveals in different objects, they have been done before, and you can just do a quick search and you'll find tons of them. This one just so happens to be incredibly EDC, and for those reasons, I love it. You're gonna wanna carry your keys, of course, somewhere. Now, the way in which, or the place I should say, where Paul carries his keys is absolutely beautiful. In fact, I already ordered it. It's gonna take a couple days to get here, so we couldn't show you here right now, but this is technically the one that I have. I shouldn't show you this one because the one that I want you to know about is the one that Paul is using, which is called the Orbit keyring. If you go on Amazon or if you go on their website, you will see many different variations that they have. The very main one is going to be available in silver and black, but they also have some that have a clip, so you can clip it on you, and different options, so feel free to explore there. But what that will allow you to do is get into the trick very, very easily, rather than having to use those regular key rings where you have to stick your nail in and start flipping it around. This, you just push the little tab up, everything will open, you can take your keys out, then you can put them back just as easily. For now, this is what I have to show you. This is what I have been using for this particular effect. And it has a clip right here, just like this. It's almost like a spring. This is made by Night Eyes. But the idea is you can very easily place those keys right in there, and you can have your other keys along with it. And when you want to take them out, you kind of just push that little button down and pull those out, and you can get right into your performance without really needing to struggle. So how you carry your keys is going to be completely up to you. We're just giving you a couple of possibilities of how to be able to get in and out without needing to grow a new fingernail. Paul's favorite way to perform this effect is by using it with the website that is going to force that card on your spectators. The reason he came up with this effect is so that he could perform card magic without actually having that card trick or those cards physically with him. We're going to get into the subtleties and how to enhance that and make it seem even more impromptu. But for now, we're just going to learn how the website works. Once you know how it works, we're going to be able to move along the instructions much easier later on. The easiest way to remember the website is that you're going to be generating a card, right? And the name of this trick is Prophecy, which starts with a P. That's it. If you can remember, you're going to generate a card and you're performing Prophecy, you'll have that website memorized. So it's going to be Prophecy. In reality, it's just the P, but you just think this is the trick you're performing. So you have that pcardgenerator.com. Super simple. You'll probably see it on the screen here. pcardgenerator.com. Now, your spectators are going to be able to navigate on their own phone and use that website. It's going to function exactly the same as if you were using it on yours. It's just a normal website that has secret places where you can tap that are going to activate that force for you. We will also go over what happens if you don't have Wi-Fi signal or the data in the spectator's phone or even your phone is not that strong. We're going to cover all of that stuff later on. For now, I'm already on the website here. And you can clearly see if I press generate, we get another card. Now, this is actually randomly generating a card for you. So you can show them that you're pressing it and it changes the card. Now, notice how when I press it, sometimes it takes a couple, maybe like a second and a half, at most like 2 seconds. Just know that every single tap that you do is always being registered on the phone, even if the card doesn't change. If you pressed on that button, it will have registered that tap. And the reason that's important is because of the secret behind it. Now, we can press this as many times as we want to show random cards being generated, as you see here. Oh, did you see how that took just a little bit longer? It still registered it, and then it switched it. So we have to always keep that in mind. Now, whenever we want to force the first card, which in our case is going to be the 7 of diamonds, all you have to do is double tap the logo up here. So if I double tap that logo, I'm gonna get a darker green from the background that we have there right in the top left corner of the screen. If I'm looking at the screen myself, it's gonna be the top left corner. You should see a little tiny dot. What that tells you is that the force has now been activated. That is almost like your cue to know you're on the right path. Now, all you have to remember is that the fourth card that you generate will be their force card. So let's take a look. So we're going to press it 1, 2, 3. When I tap it again, we'll have that 7 of diamonds. And there it is. There's our force of the 7 of diamonds. We're going to get into the subtleties and audience management in just a little bit. For now, just know that fourth tap is going to force that 7 of diamonds. Let's say you now want to move on to the next part of the routine. What you could simply do is pull down, and that will refresh the page, and you'll see that there is no longer a dot on that top left corner. So you can now continue to generate cards if you want to. But what if you want to now force that second card, to force the 4 of hearts? Very simple. You scroll down and you'll see that there's a copyright right at the bottom. It is by double tapping that copyright that you're going to get. Oh, and I didn't tap. Let me move the phone towards myself so that I can do it easily. And then it is by tapping that copyright twice that you're going to get that same dot, but this time on the right side of the screen, letting you know you're going to be forcing that second card, which is the 4 of hearts. So now, because that is activated, when I tap here once, twice, thrice, this now fourth time will force that 4 of hearts. So let's take a look, and there's our 4 of hearts. Now, this thing that I'm about to tell you is true for both the 7 of diamonds and the 4 of hearts. After that force card happens, you are back into actually generating random cards. So by tapping this again, you can see that you're now once again just getting random cards. If you want to force that 7 of diamonds now, you can double tap that, and now the 7 of diamonds is activated. So when we go through here, you'll see that fourth card will be the 7 of diamonds. It goes without saying, you don't have to do it in any specific order. If for your specific routine, you want to force that 4 of hearts first, just make sure you double tap the copyright first, and then you double tap the logo, and thus in turn, you will be forcing that 4 of hearts first and then the 7 of diamonds. Paul uses some great audience management in order to ensure that the spectators are perfectly tapping the card and the card actually gets forced onto your spectators. Because some people are used to tapping things really quickly, he wants to really make sure that he knows exactly what number of taps have taken place. Let's say for some reason you're generating a card and it takes just a brief longer than maybe your spectator wants it to switch, maybe they tap it again. That will make you not really know exactly in which number of taps you are after you have already set up your force. So for that reason, he'll have people generate different cards. When he's ready to do the force, he double taps the logo. Let's say we want to force that 7 of diamonds. After he's double tapped that, he then now one more time explains that, look, when I press here, we get a random card. I'll press it again, we get another random card. Press it here, I get another random card. Here, you press it once, let's see what card you get. And as you can see, he just did the example 3 times himself so that he can be sure that this is next time your spectator presses the button is going to give you that force card. And if you notice our wording, when we ask them to do it, we tell them go ahead and tap it once. By making sure you tell them what to do, exactly how you need them to do it, we're managing our spectators exactly as we need in order to achieve the goal that we want. In this case, of course, forcing that card. Now, of course, it's going to be up to you if you want to be aware that that's the card that they chose or completely not. You can say, now, you're going to generate a random card. Go ahead, press that. That will then show them the 7 of diamonds. Tell them, now burn that image in your mind and keep pressing it to generate more random cards, so there's no way I could know what card that is. That's one possible way you can take it, but I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because we're going to cover all of that later on. Before we move on, I want to talk about how Paul goes about bringing up this website. A lot of the times people will ask him like, oh, can you show me something? Can you show me this? Or can you show me that? And he just pretends he has nothing on him. So you'll visually see him change his demeanor to almost tell the audience or the people he's hanging out with through his emotion or his facial expressions that he actually has nothing on him. He starts then going into his pocket. Oh, I don't really have any cards on me. And it's almost as if the idea pops into his mind as he's searching for, oh, actually, I heard about this website that can generate random cards rather than you having to pick it. And then he pretends to struggle in finding the name of that, even though he knows it perfectly. It's pcardgenerator.com. He goes, I think it's something pcardgenerator.com. Go ahead, try it. If it's not it, I'll show you something else. So by crafting it that way, he's creating the illusion that he had absolutely nothing set up when that whole entire experience was pre-planned. Before we move on though, I do want to reiterate, I said that right. It's usually difficult for me. But basically what I want to say is that if you do have bad signal, just know that it may take a little bit of time for that card to switch. So be patient and remember that at all times that website is actually registering your touch. And with that said, let's now move on to what happens if you don't have Wi-Fi signal or if you don't even want to use the P-Card Generator website. So let's get into that right now. If you have no signal, if you have no Wi-Fi, or you just simply don't want to use that type of force with the website, the way Paul Fowler loves to do it. And when he showed me, my mouth dropped. I was like, that is brilliant. And what he's using is he's using Michael O'Brien's Final Destination shortcut on your phone. This is going to be only for people that have the iOS, I believe. And it is absolutely beautiful because you have an album that has, as you swipe, it has all of the cards in the deck. And you really are getting random cards. What happens though is when the phone gets turned down so they can swipe and get to a specific card, the shortcut will actually force that card for you. The moment they get that card forced, you will instantly they will be able to continue to swipe and see that they're completely at random. As well, you can continue that same routine or with that same concept and force the second card once again, and then the album will go back to normal and have all of the cards. Now, if you have this Final Destination by Michael O'Brien, you'll be able to open up that shortcut and make the tweaks necessary. It won't be that difficult, and you will then be able to perform Prophet Key with that style that uses absolutely no signal. But let's say you don't have Final Destination, but you do know Oz Perlman's Curveball. Well, he released a second version of that where it doesn't use that BlackBerry when he first put it out. This one actually uses a phone that is a touchscreen phone where you're going to be able to give the spectators the same feeling of them going through the cards, but you are actually going to be forcing the very card you need them to. So if you're interested in that concept, feel free to use it as well. Another way to generate a random card but still force that 7 of diamonds would be using Jeff Price's random card generator. They will have, you basically have a little card that that has the numbers and the suits, and your spectator gets to tear them up and they throw them down, and eventually they're going to, through all of their free choices, they're going to get to that 7 of diamonds force, which it just pairs beautifully with Prophet Key. Now, Jeff Price gave us permission to say that you can use this, so thank you so much, Jeff. He's a super amazing, cool guy. Love that guy. Also, as some of you may already know, there's digital force bag out there. You can, of course, use digital force bag to give this also that EDC quality of I have nothing on me. Oh, you know what? I do have a list with a whole bunch of deck of all the cards listed on there. Pick any number, they pick that number, and then your 7 of diamonds is forced, as well as your 4 of hearts if you want to do that as well. So digital force bag is another option for you. If you like diving more into mentalism and you know how to psychologically force the 7, say like Banachek teaches in his Psychological Subtleties, I believe that's the name of the book, series, then feel free to use that as well. Most people automatically already pick the number 7, so you can psychologically force that as well as somehow also forcing the diamond, whether it's going to be through verbiage, the way in which you talk, through magician's choice, or whichever other mentalism technique you're aware of. And the last way in which you can force the 7 of diamonds, or at least from the ones that we're mentioning here, is going to be with the most obvious one. But now is not that EDC, because that would be using a deck of cards. For those reasons, we're gonna leave those types of forcings to the end of the video, or just in case you don't know how to force a card, we will walk you through very briefly and give you ideas into what you can research so that you can make that force feel as freely as you humanly possibly can. Let's get into how to reveal the actual card on your keys. Now, there's going to be multiple ways in which you can do it. I highly advise you, of course, to take a look at Paul's performance. His presentation is chef's kiss. Ultra beautiful. I love the wording. I love everything, how it all comes together, and everything absolutely makes sense. So study that, learn it, and feel free to implement it into your presentation if you desire. So let's take a look at what happens. You have to remember that what you will see would actually, it's going to be the mirror image of what your spectator is going to see. So if you can clearly see the 7, your spectator is going to see a backwards 7. So for those reasons, you want to make sure when you see it, it's always backwards. The best way, or the easiest way in which I remember to do that is I remember the right hand, because I'm right-handed, it has the gold or the brass. But I remember gold because I think, well, the way in which I see my hand, this one is a little more skilled, so it's a little bit more valuable. And for those reasons, I have that key in that hand. So he likes to hold it just like this, with the index finger on top and the thumb right underneath. And notice that the keys are not pointing towards my hand. They're actually pointing away from the hand. And that is going to allow us to see that 7 more fully. I'm going to put it right here, which is exactly what he does. He usually wears a black shirt. And so then they will be able to see the 7 or that cutout way better against that black. So then it is by then taking that other key, again with the teeth of that key facing the right hand, facing the gold key, that he then slowly brings it together. And it is when you bring it together that you can then hold it with one hand, letting you see that 7 and that diamond more clearly. Now, one thing he stresses in order to do is to make sure you have those keys perfectly parallel, 90 degrees to the floor. If you start angling it down, as you can probably see in the camera, you're not really going to get a nice reveal of that 7 of diamonds. It is when we place it perfectly straight in alignment with our body against that black or a dark color shirt is going to show more, but feel free to experiment yourself with whatever it is you like to wear when you perform or when you go out in front of the mirror so you can exactly see what it is your spectators are going to experience. For those reasons, you're going to notice that you do actually have to have this perfectly straight in alignment with your body. And that is going to reveal that 7 of diamonds. Now, if you're going to reveal the 4 of hearts, is going to be pretty similar. We're going to have, we can hold it in the same exact way, just like this, and when we come together like that, all you'll have to do is just flip it over, or instead of holding it from the top like this, you can hold it this way, so the thumb on top and the index finger underneath, and that's going to give you a more natural look where you don't really have that much tension in your hand and it looks exactly as it should. Now, the same thing is going to be true with this one. You don't want it angled towards you, which it's going to feel maybe a little bit more comfortable. You actually want to make sure that those keys are perfectly parallel, straight in alignment with your body. That way, the spectators can actually see that 4 of hearts way more clearly. I will also mention that the very first prototype that Paul had, it had a little pointier bottom, and so holding the keys like that actually started to almost go into your skin, and it would cause some discomfort. So it is from making those prototypes that he was then able to fine-tune the prototype or the actual final product so that it was a little bit more rounded, and it's even a more joy and a more pleasure for you to perform with these keys. Another way in which you can perform this effect is by placing the keys from the very beginning in the spectator's hands. As we know, when you put something in a spectator's hands and the magic happens there, it is that much more powerful. For those reasons, rather than having to have a black shirt, because when they have the keys on their hand, and we'll use here this, you'll notice that there's a little shadow that is going to happen because obviously the keys are there, and that's going to let you see, or let them see in their own hands, that 4 of hearts or that 7 of diamonds. And then everything happens exactly in their hands. That's another way in which you can perform it or reveal this key. Another way in which Paul likes to reveal the revelation, can't use any other word there, is by using his phone case. Now, my phone case is clear, and so it is not black. I do have a little plate, so that is magnetic. But I thought, well, what if you just use the front of your phone? That's black as well. But let's imagine that this is your black phone case. You can go ahead and start putting the pieces together as if they were puzzle pieces, and then your spectators are not really going to be able to see anything until eventually they do get to see that 7 of diamonds or the 4 of hearts. But this is bringing the attention here. Okay, so that's one more way in which you can reveal this key. Another way you can use to reveal this is by using the screen. Now, one thing he came up with is to have the screen on actually. That way, oh, let me get the right one. That way you don't really see anything because it's almost like the screen is there, and you kind of time it to have the screen turn off as that reveal happens. That is going to make the reveal a little bit more impactful because they're not expecting it. They don't see it. When that screen goes off, that's when they can very clearly see that 7 of diamonds right there. Take a look. So here, and then if I tap the screen, it'll automatically turn off and you get to see it way more prominent. You're probably asking yourself, okay, at the beginning of the video, you said you're gonna be able to perform this in parlor or stage, and we haven't really touched any of those things, but this is the moment where we see how you can do that. Very, very simple. We'll first start, let's say, street magic or at your living room or somewhere where there's just a group of people with you. All you do is you have somebody take out their phone, turn on the flashlight, and you shine it at the keys. The shadow that will be created from that will be way bigger, letting you or the whole entire group see it much more fully. At the same time, the very same thing can be done on stage by just having the keys in your hand and shining a light through the keys so that they see the silhouette, thus seeing the reveal to a large audience. Why do we have two different sets of reveal keys? Well, there's going to be multiple different reasons. The very first one is that Paul does walk around magic. So if he performs one trick with these people here, he wants to have a separate revelation for the second group in case somebody tags along and goes to see what's going on. They're actually getting a completely different card. The very next thing is, let's say you perform the trick to your friends. Later on, a couple weeks down the line, you meet up with them again and they ask you to do the same trick. Well, you can now do the trick and actually get a different card generated with a different reveal. So remembering who you're performing which reveal to would allow you to perform that same trick to them later on, thus making it actually be exactly what it is, which is just a randomly generated card. But that's not all. I feel like Steve Jobs there. There's one more thing. So basically what you could also do is build in both of the reveals within one routine. And that is just absolutely fantastic. The reactions you can get from that are incredible, especially if you add little subtleties so that it appears that the spectators so that it appears that your spectators were the ones that came up with the idea of doing it again. And we'll come up with different ways in which we can do that in a little bit. Let's say you want to do a routine in which you're going to have both of those reveals. You can force the card one more time with the website. You just force it twice. You have one spectator think of it. You have the next spectator think of that other card as well. And then in order to do the switch, I'm going to show you the way in which I started doing the switch when I was performing. And it's super simple. If you're familiar with the shuttle pass, you can already do this. But in reality, you don't even need the shuttle pass. In fact, you can just very, very ugly do the move and nobody will even catch it because the trick in their minds, it's already over. The reveal, they're reacting, tension is there. I mean, the tension has already been released. And so basically all that happens is because that would be in their hands, you just go in, you grab your other set of keys, you grab them, and then you do a shuttle pass. So a shuttle pass is basically just, if you imagine this, one hand goes down, the other one goes up. You just do that. If you time it like that, but you now have this finger palm in your hand, and let's say it's relaxed here. When you take this, all you're doing is putting them into that hand, but the thumb just touches the top of those keys so that they actually don't drop. And it is in this jerky motion, where I'm just going a little down, that you get the sound that the keys fell, especially if you jiggle them a little bit like that. If you don't do the sound, it's weird because it's like, whoa, how did that happen? They're not going to think that, but their subconscious will think something crazy happened. They really won't. I'm just, in case you have a super hyper vigilant spectator, but in reality, they should be reacting and they shouldn't think that something else is about to happen. So once again, you have these two keys here. You toss them there, and now you have those keys. You can hold them very freely. You don't have to hide them. There's no need to it. And we're going to show you some subtleties later as to how, to them, it will appear as if you have the very same keys still in your hand. But for now, that is just one very simple switch. If you don't want to do that, you can just literally take those keys, put your hands in your pocket, and come out with the other ones while you leave those down. But I feel like the most incredible way in which to perform this or do the switch is the way that Paul does the switch, is literally with pretty much zero sleight of hand, and everything is motivated if your spectators are actually vigilantly watching you every move that you do. There's no way they would be able to catch it. Now, I don't have yet, I ordered it, I don't have it yet, the orbit key ring that Paul uses. It's absolutely fantastic to carry your keys, and I highly recommend you check it out. For now, I'm going to use the one that I have. So if your keys started in your keychain here, right? Once to begin the trick and you took them out and you place this back into your pocket, what you could do is have the brass colored key in your right pocket. This will represent my right pocket. And then the silver key for your second reveal will be in your left pocket. You would then start with, let's say, your 7 of diamonds, if that's going to be the one you're going to force first here. Once you take the keys out, you would then place this, oh, let me pull it out. You would then place this into any pocket. It really doesn't matter. Let's say I put it in my right pocket, so that when you're done with the first reveal, everybody's reacting, they think the trick is over. You, of course, now have to put the keys back where you got them from. So you're going to take the brass key in your right hand, because that's where the other brass key is in your pocket, and the silver in the left, and you're going to go into your pocket with both of those keys. In your mind, you're going, because you're getting that key ring, wherever you keep your keys. All you do is you leave those in your pocket, you get the other two, and you take out the key ring. To your spectators, nothing happened. Yet you have masterfully switched those keys using absolutely no sleight of hand, and every single action was completely understood by your spectators. You may have switched these keys in the way we have described, or in your own very creative way. Whichever is the case, you now have this beautiful subtlety that is built into these keys. These have been switched, but if I show you this, you can see that this is like that part of the 7, and then that's the diamond. But that is actually not the case. This is actually the 4. This is the key of the 4. The 7 of diamonds was switched into our pocket. So your spectators are going to truly believe that this is exactly what it is. Now, this key, you can put it aside. You can keep holding on to it there. You can put it in the spectators' hands and have the change happen in their hands. The idea is that by drawing attention to this diamond here is going to really give the illusion that this is still that 7 of diamonds key, especially since we also have that little section there. The reality of the matter is this is the bottom of the 4 and the bottom of the heart. But it just solidifies the fact in their mind that this is the very same key they were just inspecting, or they just saw. So the way in which you transform this one in order to get that second reveal is completely up to you. Paul, if he has a lighter, he likes to take it out and make it seem like he's changing the properties of that other key in order to then get us that 4 of hearts. Another way in which he likes to do it is by, even before bringing this attention to them, he has the spectators, can you hold your hand like this? And then he places the key in their hand so that they can't see absolutely anything. Everything is being covered. Another way in which you could do it, you could tell them, close your hand, as if that was going to be where you open the door, and then you place the key in their hand like that. At this point, it is completely 360. Set that wrong. It is 360 degrees of perfect angles. And then you can almost use a very visual, beautiful metaphor of twisting the key in order to open the reality that you need to be in so that you can have whatever's in their mind. I don't know. I'm not as good as writing scripts as Paul, so make sure you check out his presentation. It's absolutely beautiful. But the idea is there. Whether you want to do it almost like having that fire cause the change, or it just happens in the spectator's hands, or you do it yourself. A lot of the times he likes to take the key and almost very slowly start pulling it up like this. And maybe your spectator is holding on to this one if you want. And then they can see that now that key has actually shifted into something they haven't seen before. And when you put it together, it gives you that beautiful 4 of hearts. Now, I can't teach you this because it is not my creation, but I can definitely point you to the right direction. And I feel if you do, you will love and appreciate this technique. Now, I'm talking about Danny Dougherty's I only know it in Spanish, but I will tell you where to find it in English because I feel like he translated that book that was only in Spanish, Libertad de Expresión. Highly recommend it. And he did it in English. So if you check out his, I think it's Freedom of Expression book, And I think that also comes with a video. Highly recommend it, 1,000,000%. But if you check out there, you will be able to use a concept, I believe MC would be in English, where you create the illusion that after you do that 7 of diamonds reveal in the spectator's hands, you just turn to a spectator and you say, and if you were to think of a card, what would it be? And then they're going to tell you 4 of hearts. And then you do the change into the 4 of hearts. And you can do all of that in the spectator's hands. So if that sounds like something you want to do, basically what that technique will let you do, and I have been saying let you do many, many times, but you will be able to give the impression that a spectator just merely thought of a card on the spot, but it has been a force card all along. Now, the technique is absolutely beautiful and it's progressive, but you can very easily work it into this routine to really give that freedom of expression. What about the blank keys? So we also included the blank keys so that you can begin your routine with them if you so desire. Now, I'm going to walk you through this little sequence that I came up with so that pretty much almost with 0 sleight of hand, you're going to be able to switch the keys 3 times. I will mention it will require a special little something. We'll get into that in a second. But for now, you can start with your keys like this, having your spectators examine them. As they examine them, you reach into your pocket and you remove your set of keys that you want to reveal. You then ask your spectators, can you open your hand? Maybe you use the hand that you just switched the keys. We already went through that switching, but feel free to use any switch that you want to place those keys into the spectator's hands so that they believe they have blank keys in their hand, but really is going to be the reveal keys. So that's one very simple way in which you can start with blank keys and transform them into these. Now, what if you want to go from blank keys to the 7 of diamonds to then the 4 of hearts? So for that, I'm going to use a quiver. And you'll have to excuse me because I don't have one here at the moment, but we will show you exactly how it would work if you did have it. So let's say this is your quiver, is the closest thing I could find that looked like it. And then you're going to be able to open inside and you're going to have your first reveal. The way I like to set it up is by having this first reveal in the way in which the spectator can open it. So when the spectator opens it, they're going to be able to get that reveal. That way, what you do is you activate your quiver so that you go into the secret section of quiver, and it is there that you're going to place your 2 blank keys. That is going to be your setup. Then the 4 of hearts you're going to have in your pocket. Now, I don't like to take the 4 of hearts at the same time I take out quiver. I take this out, 4 of hearts stays in the pocket. This is going to represent our pocket for now. And when this comes out, you can talk about how maybe you have to go to Home Depot or the hardware store to get them cut. You open it up and you dump out the blank keys. And you can leave it open just like that. You can close it if you want, but you can leave it open. It's up to you. So then they will have those keys. You have them, check them out. And you tell them, please place those one by one into the pouch, into the quiver. Once again, it is going into the secret section that the magician has to activate. You can then leave the quiver in their hand and do your force. You get the 7 of diamonds, you do your magic, and now when you have them open up quiver, you can have them open it themselves and have them reach in. They will find nothing but just that 7 of diamonds key. To them, it will be magical that now the keys have been morphed. So that's already one magical moment. Then you can guide them to put those together, or you can do the reveal yourself to show them that has been changed. It is at this moment when they are reacting to the 7 of diamonds that you go into your pocket in a relaxed form, not because you have to do something, just because you're relaxing. That way it feels natural. You go in there and you pick, they will be in finger palm, and you pick up the quiver and place it right on top. You then can even use the quiver as that black section to show them the 7 of diamonds. From here, you tell them, actually, can you hold out your hand again? And you're now just going to do the easiest switch. Woo-hoo! So now you have the 7 of diamonds underneath, and you have switched out the 4 of hearts. You can use the subtleties we already discussed to even further solidify the fact that this is still the same keys, but you have now successfully switched out the keys 3 times, pretty much using absolutely 0 sleight of hand. Of course, there's no need for this anymore, so you can put it in your pocket. When you do need to get it back, you just pick it up again, open up the regular section, and you can put those back in there. If you do that, remember that you have now switched your first reveal to the second reveal if maybe you're doing walk around, because now what will be inside of your quiver will be the 4 of hearts, and what will be in your pocket ready for that second revelation will be the 7 of diamonds. Another way to use your blanks is by also using blank cards. So if you did use cards for your presentation, you can then do a top change, do a double lift, do anything that's going to switch you their card for the blank card, so that once you turn that card over again, it's blank and the keys also went blank. Another possibility is to then give the keys to another spectator and ask them in the past tense, what card were you thinking of? What card did you select? What card was in your mind? And they'll be like, I didn't have a card in mind. And say, okay, if you didn't have anything in mind, go ahead, open your hand, and now the keys will be blank, just like they're mine. Using a deck of cards makes it not so EDC anymore unless you always carry a deck of cards with you. Now, just for the sake of completeness, we're gonna very quickly go over a couple ways in which you can force those 2 cards that you're going to need to force. The very first thing you need to do is know exactly where those are. The easiest force you could possibly do is to just have the spectators cut any amount of cards and place it on the table. So they can cut a little bit, they can cut a lot, but essentially what we're doing is we're doing the Chris cut force. Once they cut anywhere they want, we can then take the remainder amount of cards and place it on top at an angle to keep where they cut. In reality, that will be the top card, forcing that. If we do it face up, you'll see that this is exactly what happens. They can cut here, and when we mark it, that card will always be there. That way, when they take a look at it, you have successfully forced that card. Of course, after you do that, you can take that card and get rid of it. I'll leave it here because we need it for later. And then you can even have it one more time to force, once again, in the same way, that 4 of hearts. Of course, you can use any force at all that you want that creates the illusion that they're having a free choice. You could also do a riffle force by just keeping a break on those cards. I'll leave it face up so you can see it. But by keeping a break on it, on the other side with the thumb, you just have them say stop as you riffle through. It doesn't matter where they say stop. You will always pick up on that break where your finger is. If you use your hand from the front to cover the front of the deck, they will never see the discrepancy where maybe you're not actually cutting where they told you where to stop. As you can see, they stop here, but it's actually up there. And as you come up, you just let go of everything and you pick up from the back right here where that break is. This is called the riffle force. If you want more instructions or more detailed instructions, feel free to do a search on YouTube, on Google, or on any of your books that you may have at home where it will explain that a little further. Of course, you can also use the classic force and have them just classic force that card on them. That is completely okay. If you're using the deck of cards and you really want to give that illusion that it's a completely shuffled deck from your spectators and they are randomly selecting a card from somewhere in the middle where it all happens in the spectator's hands, you can do that with Ben Earl's Red Herring. That's where I first learned it, and it's absolutely fantastic. It gives the illusion that they shuffled the entire deck themselves and then they dealt through and got to somewhere in the middle of the deck and picked a card, but that will always be your force card. So I highly recommend you check that out, or anything by him for that matter. Before we say goodbye, we want to give a shout out to Celebrity by Matthew Wright and Jamie Williams. Now, Paul independently came up with this effect. It has existed in similar ways in the past with some key differences. But if you do enjoy performing key effects, and that is something that you love, we highly recommend you check out Matthew Wright's and Jamie Williams' Celebrity. You've already heard the crediting. You know how to carry your keys. You know multiple ways in which you can reveal that key. You also have multiple ways also of how to force that card, whether you have signal, bad signal, or even including a playing card. You have different routines that you can use, and you've already learned the beautiful presentation that Paul uses to create or elevate the magic of this effect. So we want to thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate you being here. For now, all that's left to do is put the very little practice, if any, that you need, because in reality, you can just do this pretty much self-working, and go out there and amaze people when not only they least expect it, but also when you least expect it as well. Just by having these keys on you, you will always be ready to blow people's minds. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.